Hi, this is Marsha.
And this is Kelly.
We are the Two Ewes of Two Ewes Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at twoewesfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our Two Ewes Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am Better in Motion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode.
Hello, Marsha.
Hi, Kelly.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Are you plugged in correctly?
Yes. I am.
Good.
Oh, dear. Yes.
I honestly, though, I listened to it and I did not think it sounded that bad. It was not our normal quality,
right.
But it was not awful.
It wasn't unlistenable.
Yes, I don't think it was unlistenable, so I just wanted to assure you of that.
Good.
So
Thank you. Yeah, I had a couple of listeners message me and say, don't worry about it. So
yeah.
But you'd think after 2 years of podcasting, I'd know better.
I know. Happy anniversary.
Yes.
This is our 2 year mark.
Yeah. We started at the very end of, actually it's kind of between podcasts, but we started at the very end of September in 2014. Because I remember that I uploaded the episodes, and then Robert and I went camping at Mount Madonna in the trailer, and there's no service there, no cell service, and you have to walk. You have to take a little walk, and you have to get up on a hill, and you have to kind of hold your arm in the right way. and so we really had no listeners, very few. I would go up there, and I would get the signal, and then I would come back. I would look on the website of the hosting to see if we had any listeners.
And it was just us, right, listening.
Just us talking to each other over the podcast waves. So, yeah, but it's been a lot of fun.
Well, what are you working on?
So, right now, I am working on a new cast-on.
Oh.
So, when I was at Lambtown, one of the things that I decided I was going to try to buy, since I have not ever knit with hand-dyed self-striping yarn. I've knit with like the Regia ones or the printed ones, but I have not ever knit with one from a hand dyer. So I decided I was going to buy some. So I bought a skein from Invictus Yarns. It's a one row stripe, so it's really pretty. And it's kind of spiraling because of my stitch count. She had a sample there that was more like stripes, but it's one row of green, one row of yellow, and it does that for several rows, like maybe an inch or so. And then there's a section that's kind of mottled, variegated, green and orange and white. And then it goes back to the green and yellow striping. So I decided that it was high time that I made myself a pair of striping socks, or made someone a pair of striping socks. And I'm even going to do an afterthought heel.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just going to make a tube, and then I'm going to cut into the tube and make a heel on the back. I haven't ever done that either.
Okay.
So that way it doesn't interrupt the stripe pattern.
So, yeah, I'd be kind of curious how hand dyers create self-striping sock yarn, because they have to, I assume each skein is similar, the striping. It's not completely random.
Well, you did it.
How they...
You did yourself. Do you remember the striping yarn that you made for the shawl, where you wrapped the yarn around your chairs?
Yes.
So it's kind of similar to that, where you make really long color repeats.
Okay.
These aren't quite.
Yes.
These aren't.
I'm trying to wrap my head around it.
Wrap your head around the chairs?
Wrap my head. I'm just a pun. I was trying to. I guess it is exactly the same way, right? It's just that you do have to wrap it around something that's equal distance.
Yeah. So like
I guess it's
that warping board. that you have for weaving. You could use something like that. Yeah. So you get sections that are a certain size.
Yeah, when you say it, it sounds more, complicated, that it probably really isn't that big a deal to do it. But
I think
anyway.
it's time consuming because of, you remember first winding the yarn, and then once you've got it dyed, getting it back into a skein is kind of tricky, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So.
Huh.
So yeah, I'm having a good time with this yarn and this sock. The one thing I did not do that I thought about, because most people who do these self-striping socks do magic loop with one circular needle that you just go around. But I hate magic looping. I really don't like.
Yes.
I use it a lot when I don't have the right size of cable.
Right.
But not on purpose. Only because either I'm too lazy to go and find another needle with a different size of cable, or I'm too cheap to go buy a different needle with another size of cable. So I really don't like magic looping, even when I have the right kind of needle with the floppy cable and stuff. So I'm using my double points, which I love. My little toothpick ones, the birch wooden double points. So that's that. The colorway is called something like Linear XL Tailgate Splash. And I think the Linear XL part has to do with the short striping, the one rows. It's like one line stripes. So anyway, I like them. They've been fun, and the colors they're actually really springy colors. So I don't know who they'll go to, but they might not be for me.
I saw the picture of them on Ravelry, and I really like the color.
Yeah, it's a nice pattern that they're coming out to be.
Yeah.
So, and then the other thing that I've been knitting on, of course, is it's all octopus all the time. I think I have now 5 tentacles done, and I'm going to do a little. This is not really a rant. I'm not really complaining about the pattern. I'm just a little bit perplexed. Well, first of all, when I first started the pattern, it's a knitty pattern, and I should have known to go and look for errata, and I didn't, because it's not the kind of pattern where when there's errors, then they update it. It's not a PDF on Ravelry, it's knitty. So I should have looked for errata, and there was an error, and I kept not having the right stitch count, and I kept ripping back and going again and ripping back and going again and still having the wrong stitch count. And finally, I realized I didn't really have the wrong stitch count. The pattern was wrong. It had an error on that line. So, and there had been another error prior that was just, there was a miscount in like the number of rows to knit. And so I didn't catch that, and I didn't go back and fix it. It just means my octopus is like 1 row short, which is that doesn't make any difference. So that was just kind of my fault, because I know better. On a publication like that, you should always look for errata if it's not an updatable PDF type pattern. But when I got to the tentacles, well, 2 things. When I got to the tentacles, it's intarsia, which I thought intarsia was way more complicated than what this is. But basically, you knit one color. You have the two different colors of stitches on the needles, and you knit across one color. And then when you get to the next color, you put your yarn over the top, and you grab the other yarn from underneath, and then you knit. So the yarn is crossed. So, okay, that was kind of a nice surprise to know that that's what intarsia is. Because I had never done it before, and I was a little worried. But when I first started to do it, it says, wind a butterfly. You know how in intarsia, they have you wind a little bobbin or a little butterfly of yarn, because you don't want the whole ball.
Right.
Like if you have a sweater, just picture, I'm just thinking if listeners haven't ever done intarsia, if you had a sweater and you were trying to do a design on it, you would have different color balls of yarn hanging off of it, little tiny little butterflies of yarn hanging off of it. Every time you'd come up to that color, you'd then work with that color.
Well, you only have 2 colors. Remember I made a sweater that was supposed to look sort of like a patchwork quilt?
Yes.
And I thought I was going to lose my mind.
Right.
I mean, I had, 18 balls, little bobbins hanging off the back of the sweater.
And then you have to remember to wrap them, and you have to know what color. So I think that's why I thought it was more complicated than it is, because multicolor.
My experience scared you.
Yes, and I do think multicolor intarsia would be complicated, right? And you have to look at, you want to look at your chart and all that. So I have 2 colors. That's it, and it says wind a butterfly with 60 yards. Approximately 60 yards for the tentacle of each color. So I start doing that. Now, mind you, this is DK weight yarn held double. I wound...
That's a big ball.
Yes.
That's a big butterfly.
It's a regular ball of yarn. Why... By the time I got done winding the butterflies, okay, this is a tangle waiting to happen. And I took it apart and I wound it back into the ball. It's this is ridiculous. I just have 2 balls of yarn. Well, I have 1 ball of yarn that I'm pulling from the inside and the outside. And then in my knitting bag, I have the other 2 balls of yarn. And I'm using the Front Range bag that has the 2 little... things that I thought were for holding your stitch markers, and they're yarn guides. So that has been great. So I have the yarn coming up through the yarn guides for the 2 yellow skeins, and then the orange. I had to start a new skein of orange, so I didn't wind 2 balls. I just wound 1, and I just am pulling it from the inside and the outside of the ball. And so all I do is I knit when I knit across the orange, and then I move the orange ball to one side of the bag, and then I knit the yellow, and then I turn it around, and then I knit purl the yellow, and then I move the orange back to the other side, and I purl the orange, and then I turn it around. It's okay, a 60-yard butterfly with DK weight yarn held double? Seriously, that's ridiculous. And then, I have one more little comment.
Oh, okay, one more little.
I really like this pattern. It's so realistic looking, this octopus, and the tentacles now are so heavy and floppy, and they feel real. I mean, I don't know what a real octopus feels like.
Yeah, really. I don't think it feels like wool knitting, but
probably
anyway.
not. But it has the weight of a living thing. That just has the weight already of a living thing.
Yeah.
So it says to make all of the tentacles, they're flat, right? So you make all the tentacles before you stuff it. But the tentacles are coming off of the bottom. There's a bottom circle of the octopus. And then there's the top big head of the octopus. So if I knit all of the tentacles before I stuff it, I'm going to have to be stuffing it. It seems to me when I look at it now, I'm going to have to be stuffing it through 8 different holes in the bottom of the octopus, where the tentacles unfold. Because once you sew those tentacles together, there's no gaps anymore between the bottom layer of the octopus and the octopus's head. I don't know if I'm describing that very well, but
well, I think I understand.
I think I'm going to have to stuff it before I get too much further. Because I do not want to have to stuff it through tiny little... It's enormous. It's bigger. It's as big as my head. I don't want to have to stuff that through 8 little small areas. So anyway, that part of it.
Speaking of stuff, I'm sorry. Before I ask my question about stuffing, are you done with your rant?
Yes.
Your rants. Okay.
Rant over. Sorry.
I don't want to interrupt the ranting. No, have you decided what you're going to stuff it with? Are you going to use the wool batting and roving or whatever you? Remember we had this discussion last time.
I think I am. Okay. I do think I am. I think I can strip the bat, strip off the carded bat in such a way that it will be similar to roving, and I can get the sort of layered pointy end.
Or can you run it through the
diz?
What was that thing called?
Yeah.
The diz.
I might do that, yeah. I might do that. I really haven't thought too much about it since the last time we talked, but I have so much wool stuffing that I like the idea of stuffing it with the wool batting that I have.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to see it when he's done.
I'm really excited by it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's close. It's close, and so I've been working really hard on it. So I have a finished item.
Okay.
You can break out the champagne.
Oh. Quick, stop recording. We have to get the champagne.
Or in case you're already drinking champagne, now you have a reason.
No, I'm not, but I wish I was. Okay, yes. Anyway, what did you finish?
The Mesa Poncho.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is a pattern by Yumiko Alexander. And I've seen several really pretty ones at the Knockers Retreat and elsewhere. And I'm making it for my sister for her birthday, which is mid-October.
Okay.
And
so you're almost done, right?
Well, I am done.
You're done. I'm sorry, you're done. That's what why we're breaking out the champagne.
Yes, except I do have to put the buttons on it. But I started it so early, feeling like it was so early that I suddenly realized, oh my God, wouldn't it be horrible if it wasn't blocked and had buttons on it in time for her birthday? So I have to get to that this weekend. I should get the buttons on it this weekend. I'll probably have pictures in the show notes because that's my goal, is to get it done before I upload the podcast.
Okay.
So,
all right.
And then the only other thing is that I did the chain, my starting chain for the Curious Case of the Crazy Stitch cardigan.
Oh, right. Yeah.
By Michelle Dunaire. I brought it with me to Lambtown, and I did the starting chain in the car in the first row of single crochet. And then I measured it, and I thought, I think this might be too long. So then I thought, you know what? I really should have measured a sweater that I like before I started.
Well.
So I wouldn't know how long I want the sweater to be. Because it's the starting chain is the back. So it goes from the back neck, from the neck down to the bottom of the sweater. So then I decided to stop. Very small start, but it started. Yay.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, that's pretty cool. I think it's a very nice sweater, and I like the idea of, a crocheted sweater. Her other design, I think turned out really well.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I've only done the one crochet project, the shawl. And, I'd like to do a sweater at some point.
Yeah, well, she has an ebook out. She's been doing these sweaters one by one, publishing the pattern, and now she has an ebook. She has 3 of them now, of these World War I era sweaters that she's kind of reconstructed or reverse engineered, looking at the pattern and redoing it for sort of modernizing these designs. So the most recent one, I can't remember the name of it, but the most recent one, I just saw it pop up in my Ravelry pattern highlights. And I thought, that looks like a nice one too. So if she has a couple, you should go, or 3, you should go look.
Yeah, I know. Well, because I have, I don't know, how many sweater quantities worth of yarn? 4, I think.
Okay.
I don't know if that's a lot compared to other people, but it seems like a lot to me. So anyway.
It's less than I have.
Oh, okay.
So you're okay, Marsha.
All right.
So what about you?
Anyway. Well, I've been working pretty much exclusively on the Afghan, Frank Spirit Yarn Afghan. I'm halfway through my 10th color, which is exciting, which is the light kind of gray blue that it was originally the turquoise that I overdyed with black down at Jorstad Creek. And so I'm using that color. And I rearranged my colors yet again. Because one of our listeners, Rachel, who's Hockey Rachel, had contacted me through Ravelry when she was listening to the podcast that I wanted kind of a coral color. And she sent me 2 skeins of, it's Universal Yarn Deluxe Worsted in kind of a peach coral color. And so that arrived in the mail. So I decided I need to get that in there. So I rearranged so it was really nice of her to send that. Because, I had been wanting kind of a coral color. And so it worked out perfectly. And I helped her out destash. She got rid of yarn.
Yes. That's the beauty of Spirit yarn.
Yes, that's the beauty of Spirit yarn.
Everybody's
so that
happy.
Arrived. I know. So that's the next color up. That's going to be color number 11. So I'm doing pretty well. It's getting very, very heavy. It's very big. I haven't measured the length of it yet. I know it's about I can't remember now what it was, 6.5 feet wide, I think. It's wider than I thought it was going to be.
Right.
But it's getting really big and heavy. And I've talked about this before, but it's kind of hard on my hands. I don't know if it's the combination of just such large needles, and then the garter stitch, I think, kind of does not slide on the needles as well as, stockinette.
Okay.
And then it's just so heavy, I'm holding all that weight. So I decided the other day, I need to take a break. And I don't have it. And everything else I have is sort of complicated. I want something sort of mindless. And so you know what I've discovered, Kelly?
What?
The perfect project. Dish rags or dishcloths.
Oh, yes. I love them.
So I've made I've made 2, and I'm sitting here knitting on my 3rd one. I'll probably finish it during the recording. They're going so fast. You can do a dishcloth in a day.
Yeah.
Or an evening. And I'll tell you what inspired me. You probably don't even remember this, but one of my trips to visit you, we were on the way back to the airport. You were going to take me to the airport to drop me off to go home, and you were working on kind of a maroon and gold dishcloth, and you bound off and you just handed it to me and you said, "Here, take this." And so I don't know where that thing was, but I found it. It just like showed up, and I'm like, oh, look at this thing. I should start using it. So I started using it, and that kind of inspired me. I thought maybe I should start making, dishcloths because it'd be something quick and easy and smaller needles and sort of a break for my hands. So anyway, I just went on Ravelry, and there's tons of dishcloth patterns that are free.
Yes.
The 2 that I'm using, I made 2 of a pattern called All Washed Up by Jill Arnusch, Arnuch. And the one I'm working on right now is called Diagonal Knit Dishcloth. Really inspired name. And I'm not being mean when I say that, because the designer, her name is Jana Trent, and she even comments that it's not a very inspired name, but it's really cute. So I've done 3.
All right.
And that's just been a really nice break, because I say you can make one in an evening watching TV, and so that's really that's all I have for projects.
Okay. Well, I do love making dishcloths. I could be having a dishcloth on the needles all the time, and I sometimes think about that, but no, I don't.
But I have I think all of the cotton I have, I just got at the Goodwill. Maybe some of it I purchased. I live in Seattle, and in the Pacific Northwest, we have a chain called Fred Meyer. And anyway, they are closing out all of their, the Lion brand it's Lion brand yarns, just called Kitchen Cotton.
Oh.
And they're all these really bright primary colors. Anyway, they're closing out all of it. So it's all on sale. And so I bought a bunch of that.
That's really good.
I think I bought 6 colors. So that's what I'm using right now. I'm knitting pink called bubblegum.
Okay.
And it really does look exactly like bubblegum. The color.
Nice.
So it's been kind of fun. It's just so I'm going to finish. I think when I finish this 3rd one, then I'm going to go back to my Afghan. But
I heard of a project, a similar kind of a project. I think it was on the Twin Set podcast. They were talking, one of them was doing this as a present. Not washcloths, but little small, teeny tiny versions that are like makeup removers. And I thought, what a great idea. Now, I don't wear a lot of makeup, so I don't have that, but my nieces wear makeup, and I thought, that'd be I haven't done it yet. I've been thinking about it for a couple of years. Maybe this will be the year I do it. But wouldn't it be a great Christmas present to make like 14 of these 2 weeks worth of these little tiny, maybe 3-inch by 3-inch? I don't know. Maybe less than that. 2-inch by 2-inch little washcloths that are just to remove the makeup. And then 2 of those lingerie bags, little lingerie bags, so that when you use it, you just put it in the lingerie bag, and when you get, when it's laundry time, you just take your lingerie bag full of these used ones and toss it in your laundry.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
And then you have one in the laundry and then one that's ready to go. Yeah. I just thought, that'd be such a great idea. I want to do that for a Christmas present, but I haven't done it.
Well, and I'm sure people have done this before, but I just thought it would be really fun this Christmas is just make everybody a washcloth and give them a bar of soap. Yeah, and I thought, I know people make handmade soaps all the time. I wonder how hard that is. I should look up a recipe for making soap, and everybody this Christmas would get a
soap and a washcloth.
Yeah.
I really like them. I like them for dishes, and I also like them for just a washcloth in the bathroom. Yeah. Cool. And a nice break from your big, huge. So the contrast between 6.5 foot by 8 foot or whatever.
I should weigh it, because I think my father's sweater was, just shy of 3 pounds.
I think it wasn't bigger than that. More than that.
Was it more than 3 pounds? I can't even remember. I'll have to look because I've been keeping pretty extensive notes on Ravelry, but. And then, of course, I'm doubling it, right? Because I'm adding more yarn.
Right.
So I figure it's going to be over 6 pounds by the time it's done.
Help! I'm under the blanket and I can't get up.
They'll find me. Like, they won't see me for a week. And they're like, she's dead because she couldn't get out from underneath that blanket.
You'll have to start lifting weights.
I just have to lift the blanket. I don't need to go to the gym and lift weights.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Funny. Anyway, all right.
So, are you itching to cast on anything, or have you just been sort of focused?
Well, I've been kind of focused on that, the Afghan, but I will say I'm sort of getting to the point where I want to be done with the Afghan because I do want to cast something on. I do, though. I have projects in the works. So I have I have a sweater, the Fairfield cardigan that's been just sitting. And part of the reason why I didn't pick that up is it is a little bit more complicated. Also, I've knit too far. I need to rip back.
Oh, that's right. I remember.
I think I need to rip back about 1.5 inches, I think is what I need. And then I also, when I looked at it, I realized that I made a mistake on one of the cables. So instead of, always twisting to the right, one of them twists to the left. I don't know how I did that. So I really need to rip. And now it's not that far back, but it's further back than, it's maybe 3 inches.
Yeah. Have you have you ever just taken those stitches back and then redone it and then pulled it back up?
Yes, but it seems like it's just a little too far, maybe? I don't know. I guess you can do it back 3 inches. You
could try. Worst case scenario, you try it and then you don't like it, you still have to rip it out.
Yeah. That's true. Well, anyway, but the thing is, it got kind of
complicated.
It's not one of those things I can just pick it up and start knitting again. I have to pick it up and think about it a little bit. And I know it's one of those things. When I actually do it, it's not that bad.
Right.
It's just I just need to make myself do it. So and I need to find a day when I have a little bit more time to kind of sit and look at it. You can just
focus on that one thing.
But I really, honestly, what I kind of want to knit now is a poncho. There's been all this discussion. From our last podcast, all this discussion on the Ravelry discussion page about ponchos. I really kind of want a poncho, and
one of your sweater quantities, could become a poncho instead.
Yeah, in the mail today, I got the Land's End catalog, and you know what they're selling in there?
Ponchos.
A poncho.
It must be the year of the poncho for real.
Yeah. So I'm kind of thinking about that.
Nice.
And then after the last discussion, there were so many cute ponchos that I found, and people posted pictures of them, and what they have made or they're about to make. So I kind of think
we should make a poncho bundle and have a poncho along.
Well, and I think that somebody commented, is there going to be a poncho along? So I don't know, Kelly. We'll see.
Okay. But first you have to finish this blanket.
Yeah, I really do want to be done with the blanket.
Comfortable starting something new.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. And you are, you're on track. You're maybe not going to finish by Frank's birthday, but...
Yeah, because that would be October 20th, and I don't think I'm going to finish by October 20th. But I think, I'll definitely be done by Christmas.
Yeah, I would say you'd be done by Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Well, and if I really didn't stop and make 3 dishcloths or washcloths, I would be further along. But I just had to take a break.
Yeah. No, I understand that.
But anyway, it's coming along.
Nice.
So anyway, so that's it for me with projects.
Okay.
So Kelly, tell me about Lambtown.
Oh my gosh, it was so fun, Marsha.
Yeah.
So Lambtown is a fiber festival in Dixon, California. And Dixon is a small town outside of Sacramento. It's in the surrounding area of Sacramento. And pretty rural. I mean, Sacramento's a big city, but everything surrounding it is very rural. So it was a very sort of rural, small town fair atmosphere. The very first thing that I did when I got there was run into a whole bunch of people.
Oh, now that's exciting. What fun.
Yes, it was fun. I was standing in Yarn Dyer's booth. In fact, I was standing in the Duran Dye Works booth looking at yarns, and more about that later. And we actually finally had to move out of her booth because the crowd, we had gotten to be such a big crowd, we were in the way of other people who wanted to see it. I felt kind of bad. Anyway, so there were quite a few of us who were there at Lambtown that weekend. Tracy Thumperina was there, and then Tracy, a little posy from the Two Knitlet Chicks, was there, of course. And then Fran was there, and Marianne, and Dagmar, and Lorraine, and someone I had only met briefly before, Susan, was there. Anyway, we met up during the day, but there was a whole group of us that just kind of came in all at about the same time and ended up standing right outside the Duran Dye Works booth talking before we headed over to watch the fleece judging. That was the highlight for me. This is the third different judge that I've seen doing fleece judging. Her name was Maria Rooney, and she's a Romney breeder in Silverton, Oregon. So she had a really different style of judging than the other judges. First woman judge I've seen. And also, oh my gosh, you could tell she was just in love with the wool. You know, the men judging, they were, the one judge from the fair, the Monterey County, he was talking about fleeces being dreamy, but he wasn't gushing like we do, you know.
Right.
She would be like, oh, and you could just feel this, and look, oh, this is just the kind of wool I like, and you know, she got really excited about it, and that was fun. She talked a lot more. Her judging style, she talked a lot more about what was wrong with the fleece than what was right. I got the feeling that the other judges that I've listened to judge fleeces really went out of their way to say nice things about the fleeces, to start with the positives. And then if there was something that they were, you know, grading it down a little bit for, they would talk about it as, you know, it's not as good in this way as this other one. And she was more kind of tell it like it is, not diplomatic. You know, this one just has too much weather damage. Or, you know, oh, this one has a musty smell. It's been sitting in the bag a little too long. You know, was shorn, this shearing was from longer ago than these others. It just doesn't have a fresh smell. So she was more along the line of talking about what was wrong with them. But it was very interesting to listen to her. And I learned a lot just by hearing the different things that she was critical of in these fleeces. The quality of the fleeces was not what we see at the Monterey County wool auction, and not what we saw at Black Sheep, I don't think. But much smaller, too. There weren't as many entries. There were some nice entries, and there were some of the sort of familiar names. There were some Mendenhall fleeces. There were some Janet Hepler fleeces from Nebo Rock Ranch. There were, what were some of the other names? I can't remember now, but names that were familiar to me that I'd heard from other shows. Fleeces that were from the same growers that had won prizes elsewhere. So there were some of those, but overall I didn't think the quality was as good as the other two shows. But there were some nice ones there, and there were some good prices. Some of the prices again were, because they're set, it's not an auction. They were higher than what what I would pay at the Monterey wool auction. And many of them were priced at like $22 and $25 a pound.
Oh yeah, that's high.
Which our highest, the best fleece at the wool auction this year, I think I was pretty astounded because it went up to $26 or $27 a pound. So yeah, that's a little on the high side. Some of them were worth it, worth the price in terms of the quality. But I was a little bit surprised to see some of the prices on them. So that after the wool judging, they did like Black Sheep, they get set up for the sale. And of the ones that were really nice that a lot of people were eyeing, I was we didn't get back from lunch at the time when they opened up, but I was kind of wondering if there was going to be a little bit of brawl.
Yeah.
Because there were a few nice ones and everybody knew it. And so I wondered kind of how that was gonna play out.
But you missed all of that.
I missed that. By the time we got done with lunch and went over, the primo ones that people had been wanting were gone. But there were some nice ones left. And I actually helped to convince Marianne to buy a particular one. She was looking and she had a couple of choices, and she was asking me questions about what I thought. And there was one of them that I thought was really a good value for the price. It was a really nice fleece, and the value was excellent. So yeah, I convinced her, and then her friend Lorraine was there. You remember Lorraine? She's the one that helped Kim. She did the same thing for Kim, helping Kim to buy a spindle. Yes. So Lorraine was talking to me, and she was looking at a really pretty Romney fleece. And I kept saying, yeah, do it. You want it, do it. But then she also was thinking about an alpaca fleece. So then she said, well, come look at this. And so I went and looked at these alpaca fleeces, and there were two of them. And she's like, which one should I get? And I said, well, this one's really nice, but that other one's 50% off. Why don't you get them both?
Oh, you're good.
Well,
Molly.
And then she was doing it too, because she was like, well, I could get that one Romney fleece, but look, I could get both of these alpaca fleeces for about the same price. So yes, we had quite a fun time in the afternoon figuring out what fleeces everybody was going to get. I did not come home with another fleece.
You didn't buy anything?
I didn't buy a fleece. I had thought about buying mohair to use for blending with some of the fleeces that I have, but the only mohair that I really liked, I didn't watch the mohair judging. I looked at them the next day, and the mohair that I really liked the feel of was gray, and I didn't want to blend in a gray mohair fleece. I like the way they look dyed, so that was that. So I resisted. I ended up with 2 skeins of self-striping yarn, the one I already talked about, and then I ended up, and I got one from a self-striping, or it's a variegated, or a spiraling, from Duran Dye Works. And then I also got, the knockers yarn that we got from Duran Dye Works. I'm making that shawl. It's gray with gold and green and blue. It's colors inspired by the California quail. Well, that shawl has stalled because I made modifications to the pattern to make it use 2 skeins of yarn instead of 1, and also to have stripes instead of be one color. And I got to a point, I think I mentioned this to you, I got to a point where I needed to decide what to do about the edging. Well, while I was there, I decided, you know what I should do about the edging? I should buy another skein of yarn.
Oh, yeah.
And then I don't have to worry that I don't have enough. I can just finish the edging with this new skein of yarn. It's the same color as the solid, but it's sort of tonal. So I'll have a little different color edging, and then I can finish it without having to think too hard. And then I'll have leftovers that I can use to make socks or something.
Yeah, or make a leftover shawl. All the leftovers that are sort of the same weight.
Yeah, I could do that too. Yeah.
Something.
Yeah, because I'll probably have quite a bit of leftover in that. So, but I love that yarn. Oh my gosh, that is the luscious base, and it's silk and merino.
That's what I should be casting on. Not to get off of Lambtown, but I have my skeins, the variegated one and the solid, and I haven't done anything with that, and I should start that because I have roughly 6 months till Knockers, and I want to have something. I want to bring it to. I want to show it off at Knockers, whatever I decide to make. So that's what I should really cast on.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
well, I'm
that's
hoping
a side note.
I'm hoping that having this skein of yarn that means I don't have to think too hard about it will help me get this one done. So because it had kind of gotten stalled. And then the only other thing I bought was a smaller punch needle for punch needle rug hooking.
Oh right, yeah.
So I'm now solemnly making a commitment that I will do some punch needle rug hooking.
Now, you are being recorded.
I know.
So.
That's why I'm saying this, because it helps. I'm going to be doing some punch needle rug hooking. And I am going to pledge to start this before the end of November. So I've had the equipment for almost 2 years.
Okay.
So
it's out there.
Yeah, it's out there. End of November, I will have started some punch needle rug hooking. So that's Lambtown in a nutshell. It was fun.
So, and I wanted to ask a question too, because you posted on, excuse me, I hit my glass. You posted on Instagram a picture of the sheepdog trials.
Oh, that was fun too.
So what was that? I wanted to ask you about that. How was that?
That was really interesting. Lambtown is really small enough to be a one-day event. You could just go for one day. But since it was Robert's birthday, we were making a weekend of it. We went up Friday night and then came home on Sunday. So on Sunday, I wanted to see the sheepdog trials. I had missed them on Saturday. And so we went and watched them at the beginning of the day. And it was very interesting. Unlike hunt tests and, some of the dog events that I've done before, there was like a commentary when, not during the event, but they'd introduce the person who was running the dog and tell a little bit about them. And then when they were done, they would do a little bit of informational about what the person had been doing and what the dog had been doing. And it was getting stormy. And man, those sheep were getting feisty. There were a couple of dogs that got charged by these sheep. And a couple of the handlers retired their dogs. They just didn't finish. They just stopped. And then a couple of the ones we watched, their time ran out. They weren't able, the dogs were not able to get the sheep through all of the different things because they run them through gates and they have to go get them and bring them toward the handler. And then they have to take them through these different gates and then get them into a pen at the end. So they were explaining that there was a lot going on because of the weather change, that the sheep were not happy. And were a little more skittish or assertive, actually. And then the other thing they said was that the area, they had to move venues into a smaller location because of some garbage that was in the ground. They moved a couple years ago to this new area, and the area is small. And so the dogs can't get far enough away from the sheep to relieve the pressure. And so normally when the sheep started getting, feisty, the dogs would move away and kind of relieve the pressure on the sheep and work them from a little further away. But it was a paddock area, large, but it was a paddock area, and there just wasn't enough room. So that was very interesting to hear the commentary about, why things weren't going well for the handlers and their dogs, and why some of the handlers made decisions to retire their dog and not. One of them right away, her dog went out to get the sheep, and and just like wasn't walking up on the sheep to try to collect them in, like to try to push them toward her. The dog wasn't, and she said, the sheep are just being really, I forget the word she used. Feisty wasn't the word, but it was like they were giving the dog the evil eye right back. You know how border collies do that. So anyway, they're being, I guess, intimidating. They were trying to intimidate the dog.
Okay.
And so
I don't know. I've never seen sheepdog trials. I've never even actually seen sheepdogs work at all. So is the handler telling them exactly what to do, or is the sheepdog kind of on their own making the decisions about what to do with the sheep?
Both, I think. It kind of reminded me of hunt tests where the dog knows more of what they're doing in terms of finding the bird, but the handler knows, the handler has some knowledge to kind of guide them. And that's, I think, what happens in sheepdog trials too. It's like the handler knows what, the dog needs to do in terms of what side to be on or which direction to bring the sheep. But the dog knows, like, okay, that's a little too much pressure, back off. And then the handler was, there were several times where handlers were really telling the dog, whoa, and to kind of back off. I think probably because of the not having enough room. And the sheep were just really feeling pressured. So it's a team. I mean, it's really teamwork.
Yeah. Just like the hunting is.
Just like the hunt test was teamwork. More teamwork than just obedience. I mean, obedience is teamwork too. But you're kind of the leader of the team in obedience. Whereas in the hunt tests, it really was teamwork. There are certain things the dog knows that you don't know because they're way out there. And there are times when the dog will not do what you're asking because it's not the right thing to do in that circumstance.
Yeah.
So, and you have to know the difference as a handler. That's the hard thing. Know the difference as a handler between a dog that's blowing you off and one that's, saying this is the way this has to work.
Well, that sounds really exciting. I would like to see that. Well, I would like to see Lambtown. Well, any of these festivals I think are always so much fun and interesting. I'd like to have seen I'd like to see the dogs work too. It'd be fun.
Yeah, it is very interesting. Yeah. So we did that for, I don't know, about an hour. And then I walked back through all the vendors and I bought the yarn. I had not bought yarn the day before. I bought the yarn. And then I bought one skein the day before, I think, because I started in the hotel room. But then I bought the yarn that I needed for the shawl, and the other striping yarn from Duran Dye Works caught my eye. So
cool.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
It was fun.
Yeah, it sounds really cool.
It's worth going. I mean, it's not the kind of fiber festival that you would come from out of state to go to, I don't think. It's pretty small, but it's nice because it's not overwhelming.
Yeah.
You could go for a couple of hours if that's all you had. We were there all day because the first half of the day, the first half of the day was wool show, the judging. And then we walked around and talked and shopped. Oh, I know what I want to say.
Oh.
Tracy won a blue ribbon.
Oh, congratulations. Now that's exciting.
Yeah, she brought her shawl. She had made a shawl out of the alpaca fiber that was from her friend's alpaca.
Is that the one that she was spinning when she was at the Knockers?
Yes, at Knockers.
Okay.
And she was spinning it to make a lace shawl for her friend, and it's beautiful and fluffy and warm. And she entered it, and she won first. It was very
cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So it inspires me every time I see the judging of items that I should enter things, but then I don't.
Okay, you're being recorded. Do you want to make a pledge?
No. One pledge is enough for this episode.
So that's very cool. Congratulations to Tracy that she won. Very cool. Yeah. All right. So I have to ask you also, if we're done with Lambtown, I wanted to ask you update on bees.
Okay.
What's the word on bees?
Well, they are eating like crazy. I think I mentioned that I had given them some old comb with honey in it and a jar of honey, and they had eaten all of that. So now I'm feeding them sugar water. Mm-hmm. And the first jar took them a little less than a week to eat it. And then last week I put on a box of empty frames so they could start they had built up to a size that I thought they need a little more room. So I put on an empty box of frames, and now I'm feeding them like a quart every 2 days.
Wow, that's a lot. That seems like a lot.
So they're not eating it all; they're storing it, and now they have space to store it and raise babies. So they've gotten to a size where they can tend to 2 boxes, and they're not filling 2 boxes, but at least they can tend to the 1 box and fill the other one with honey. So that's what they're doing. I think I haven't been actually inside. That's what I'm going to do this weekend, and hopefully it should be nice. And hopefully I'm going to try to record something that I can upload. I'm
going to interrupt in the discussion to say I just bound off my 3rd dishcloth while we've been recording.
Okay, so now do dishcloths get champagne?
Why not?
A finished object, completed project, right on the podcast live.
Yes, live. Yeah. Oh, and right. I see I made a mistake.
Well. Yeah, it's a washcloth.
Oh, well. No, yeah, so now I've got 3. I'll post that. Yeah, so. Okay, anyway, but yeah, the bees, back to the bees. Oh, so, well, yes, you're gonna record the inspection, yeah.
Yes. So if anyone's interested, I will put it up on YouTube, and I will be one of the many beekeepers with boring. Well, I don't think they're boring, but
yeah, I don't think they're boring.
Well, the thing that's boring about it is, it's like unless you have somebody filming you, it's a static camera, and then you're like in it, and then you're out of it, and then sometimes it's not filming the thing you think it's filming. And
okay, maybe you're right. Maybe they are boring.
It might not be the best. It might not be the best thing to watch, but there are a few of them. There are a few beekeepers who make really, really good quality videos of beekeeping. And one of my favorites is 628 Dirt Rooster. Mm-hmm. He's in Mississippi, and he makes very good videos, and he's just interesting. So, but I'm not going to be of that quality.
Well, yeah. Well, we'll see. I'm excited to see it.
And I am too. I think sometimes you can see things afterwards. I mean, this is what I've been told, that a lot of people video their inspections so that they can watch them afterwards, and they catch things that they didn't catch while they were in the moment. Mm-hmm. And then you have time to think about what you want to do, or what it means, or what you're seeing. Mm-hmm. So
I would say that about videotaping yourself, I'm going to segue to dog training.
Oh, yeah.
So, and about Enzo. So, we've been doing agility and obedience 2.
Fun.
And I know it's been fun, and he's doing pretty well. One thing I know, okay, so since I'm being recorded, I'm going to say this out loud. I need to practice with him more in between classes. So that's my goal.
So you're making a pledge?
I'm making a pledge to practice. And what I really would like is I have to find someone to help me. It'd be nice if I could find someone who knows a little bit, well, they don't have to be a trainer, but have a dog and understand, a little bit about training, because a lot of the training in obedience 2 is there's all kinds of distractions. I think I mentioned this before, that the first time class we went to, he was, you should have seen his head whipping around and his ears flying, because all the time you were having to make him sit down, stay, stand, back up. I can't remember what else we had to do. She's bouncing a ball. the whole time. And then she has like this
evil. That's like Klaus, who would train our dogs. Evil, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then she has like a long flexy rod kind of thing that has feathers or rags or something at the end of it that she shakes. And then of course he's also really distracted by the other dogs, all the dogs too, depending on what level they are at. Because even though, he's in obedience too. In fact, today just before we had this conversation to record, he had his third obedience 2 class, and there's somebody who graduated out of the class. But she said it took her a lot of lessons to graduate. So, he's had 3 lessons at that level. So we're not anywhere close to graduating out of obedience 2. But it also really, I know I need to work with him more in between classes. That's the only way he's going to get better, is I need to work with him a little bit every day.
Right.
It might be kind of good to be videotaped in dog class because... For example, today we were supposed to practice backing the dog up. He kept jumping up because I'm holding the treat, and he kept kind of jumping up on me. And then she said, well, just hold the treat lower. And I had no idea that I was holding the treat up like at my chest. Like there was no connection with my brain and my hands. And I went, oh, yeah. As soon as she said that, I went, oh, yeah, well, duh, obvious. So I just put my hands down sort of like thigh height. And he immediately started backing up the right way. So, but there seems to me, for me in dog training, and I don't think this is just me alone, I think everybody who's new to this, there's a little bit of a disconnect. You're trying to pay attention to what the instructor is telling you to do, but you're also trying to control your dog, too, because he's supposed to sit and stay while she's giving the instruction, and that's really hard because he's distracted by the other dogs and the bouncing ball and and just he's excited because it's fun. And so there's just a lot, so it would be nice to find someone who I could work with, who could do a little bit of the distraction, because I could do pretty well just making him sit and stay at home, but then there's no bouncing ball and other dogs. And
another thing you could do is you could take him and you could go do your training places. Mm-hmm. Like when I was doing a lot of training, one of the places that I like to go was the grocery store and train on just right outside the door of the grocery store.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's lots of people going in and out. There's carts. The automatic doors are a big distraction. And so, we would just do all of our things around in the vicinity of the front door of the grocery store.
Well, and what I should do is take him down to the Ballard Farmers Market. That would probably be a good thing to do. I did take him down there a couple of times just to because when he was really young, when you'd walk him on the leash, if anybody came by, he was straining to check them out. And so I took him down there like 3 times, I think, and he pretty much is over that now of straining to get a good whiff of that. Who's walking by? What do they smell? He's always sniffing. It's so funny. So I should do that. I can't do it this Sunday, but maybe next Sunday I'll take him down there and try doing some of this.
And you'd be surprised how much just any different location makes a difference. It doesn't even have to be a super distracting location. Just the fact that it's a different, with a young dog especially, just the fact that it's a different location is enough to kind of tweak their brain a little and make it just that much more challenging than doing it at home.
Yeah. Anyway, so he seems like he's doing fine. I mean, we clearly have work to do. But he seems to really enjoy it, and I think he has more fun with the agility than he does with the obedience. Yeah, I mean, just because he gets to move, right? The obedience is a lot of sitting and staying and trying to control himself because it's just so exciting because somebody smells really good and there's that ball and my God, what's going on and
it's like the difference between school and your sport.
Yeah,
right. Both of them involve work.
Yeah.
But one's a little more active than the other. Yeah.
So Anyway, so yeah, he's doing fine. So
Good.
That's all I have about Enzo. A little Enzo update. That's all I wanted to say about Enzo. But what I wanted to do, though, is invite listeners maybe to invite a friend to join our group on Ravelry or subscribe to the podcast so they can join in the fun.
Nice.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
The more the merrier.
Yeah, more the merrier.
Let's get this party bigger.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that'd be great. So invite a friend.
Nice.
Okay. All right. Well, do we have anything else that we need to discuss?
I think that's it.
Alrighty, I'm going to weave in my ends on my my washcloth, and I'll wash my face tonight with it.
Okay. Wash your face and have a glass of champagne.
Yes. Alrighty.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
We'll talk soon. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit 2ewesfiberadventures.com. We have links for iTunes, Google Play Music, YouTube, and others.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am Better in Motion, and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the 2 Ewes
doing our part for World Fleece.